What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in CoD WW2. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the Bren light machine gun. First up, as always, let's cover some of the real life stats. So the Bren is British, but it is based off of a Czechoslovakian LMG. It fires a 303 British cartridge at approximately 500 rounds per minute. In CoD WW2, we get a damage profile of 50-40, which means it's always going to be a 2 to 3 shot kill, although just like with all of the other LMGs in the game, this drop-off point to the 3 shot kill range is so far away that you'll never be able to find a practical line of sight where this drops off to a 3 shot kill, so it's essentially a 2 shot kill at any of the ranges you'll ever find. Our rate of fire is a little bit slower than the real life rate of fire at 300 rounds per minute, and with rapid fire we can bump that up to 319 rounds per minute. Our statistical minimum time to kill within the 2 shot kill range, which like I said is going to be pretty much all of your gunfights, is 200 milliseconds, which is very good, especially considering the fact that this stretches out to any practical range that you'll ever find. And if you ever did get all the way out to the 3 shot kill range, or let's just say you miss a shot, our time to kill drops pretty significantly down to 400 milliseconds. Our headshot multiplier is standard at 1.1, and this means we get a damage profile of 55-44, and this essentially means that headshots aren't really doing anything for you with the Bren. As for our ranges, I don't have a line of sight long enough to show you the drop-off point here, so like I said, it's always going to be a 2-shot kill at any range you'll ever find, and for hardcore, it will always be a 1-shot kill. Our Hipfire Spread is absolutely massive. It is the worst in the game. As you can see here, it's even significantly wider than all of the other LMGs in the game, which is really saying something, so terrible hipfire on the Bren. And our idle sway is decently high for an LMG as well. You can definitely notice the idle sway, especially if you're trying to pick people off at longer ranges. This can throw you off target a little bit. Getting into our recoil, as you can see here, there's very little recoil with the Bren. This is one of the big upsides. It kicks very slightly vertically, but like I said, this is very slight. Even if you're firing your full magazine of 30 rounds, it never really gets out of control and it never kicks side to side. Our magazine capacity is quite small for an LMG at only 30 rounds with 60 in reserve, but when we pop extended mags on there, this takes it all the way up to 100 rounds, which is the biggest increase with extended mags that you'll see in this game. Our reload add time is pretty much standard for LMGs, which is to say that it is quite slow at 5.17 seconds. And as a result of this, I highly recommend extended mags on this gun. You don't want to be caught reloading, and you will have to reload decently often with that 30 round magazine, even though the rate of fire is quite slow. So extended mags is an excellent choice for you. Getting into handling and mobility, the aim down sight time for the Bren just recently got a massive buff. It used to be 550 milliseconds, which is insanely slow for Call of Duty. Now it's only 384 milliseconds, which is still the slowest in the LMG category and one of the slowest in the game, but it's significantly faster than it used to be. Our sprint out time is a bit slower than the aim down sight time, and it is the slowest in the game at 400 milliseconds. Our movement speed is standard for LMGs at 92.5%, but our aim down sight strafe speed is not standard for LMGs. This is only 28%, so when you're aiming down sight and strafing, this is extremely slow even for the LMG category. Getting into my recommended attachments, as always with LMGs, Quick Draw. Quick Draw is very helpful for LMGs. It does speed up your aim down sight time very noticeably, and it's already really slow. This is one of the biggest weaknesses with the Bren, is its slow aim down sight time. So we want to counteract that as much as possible, and this is why I will always use Quick Draw on the Bren. Like I said a little bit earlier, extended mags. Extended mags is also extremely helpful on the Bren. It's the largest increase that you get with extended mags in this game, so absolutely, if you're not using extended mags, it's nice to pop on there. And the added bonus of running extended mags is it actually gets rid of that standard magazine that takes up a huge portion of your screen because it sticks right up, and the magazine comes off to the side, and therefore you can actually see a lot more of what's going on around you, and that magazine isn't in the way. Aside from those two attachments, which are my go-to must-have attachments on the Bren, I will often use a reflex sight. I feel like since it's such an accurate gun and it's really based on locking down lanes and accuracy, the reflex sight definitely helps, especially because I'm not a huge fan of the iron sights with any of the variants that I have at least. And aside from those attachments, there's only 2 other attachments that I'd probably consider with the Bren. First up, FMJ. The Bren already does punch through walls pretty effectively without FMJ, but if you pop it on there, you'll be able to get 2-shot kills through a lot of surfaces in this game. And I would say the last attachment that I would ever consider using with this would be rapid fire. LMGs in this game get a pretty decent benefit from rapid fire. It's a little bit better of a benefit than we get with the rifle category. And therefore you could speed up your time to kill even more than you already have it, but having said that, your time to kill as long as you're hitting your shots is already very good with the Bren, so it's absolutely not necessary to run rapid fire. Moving on to a couple example classes for the Bren, this one here is my go-to class. It's with the infantry division, so we can get that extra attachment, and you can strafe a little bit faster in gunfights. It's still going to be quite slow though, and also we just get that extra ammo, which is always nice. Our attachments are Quick Draw, Extended Mags, and Reflex Sight. Our basic training is Hunker, our secondary is the 9mm SAP with Extended Mags, and our lethal is a Sticky Grenade. This is a pretty standard class for me. I really just like this configuration, and you can basically just swap out the gun as you please, and you've probably seen that quite a bit throughout this series. This particular setup just seems to work quite well for me and my personal playstyle. Next up, we have a class that I'll admit I personally don't use too often, but it is a good class if you want to play really defensively, which the Bren definitely excels at, and you just want to lock a lane down. You just want to shut something down completely. This particular setup is pretty much unstoppable for that. You're going to be picking off snipers, you're going to be picking off rushers, anybody that enters your lane, you should be able to just annihilate with this setup. So with this one, we're using the Armor Division, so we have the ability to use a bipod if we want. If we're really camping back and locking that lane down, a bipod would work quite well here. We also get that explosive resistance, which is really nice. With this one, we're not running Quick Draw, and the main reason is this is designed to be really defensive, so you shouldn't be running around and getting into situations where you need to aim down sight quickly anyways. We've got a 4x sight here so that we can challenge people at really long ranges. This is a great counter sniping class. We also have extended mags, which is just excellent, like I said, on the Bren. I basically never use a class with the Bren without extended mags. Our basic training is Lookout, and this is primarily for the ability to see those red name tags above their heads while you're locking down that lane. It just allows you to snap onto those targets a little bit faster, and maybe if they have like a great head glitch where you otherwise wouldn't be able to see them very well, this allows you to see them really effectively. This also works great on like Operation Breakout, for instance, on the bridge. You can often see the name tags through the smoke a little bit if the smoke is kind of thin. So Lookout is excellent for this. And once again, our secondary is a 9mm SAP with extended mags. That's just my go-to secondary. But for this one, we have an S-Mine as our lethal. I don't normally run S-Mines, but if you are going to be setting up shop and just locking a lane down, you've got to make sure you have something watching your flank, and an S-Mine is great for that. Even if it doesn't kill the enemy player that's coming up behind you, it will at least alert you to his presence, so you can swap over to your pistol, you turn around, and get the kill on him. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for the gun guide on the Bren. Personally, I absolutely hated this gun at launch. The aim down sight time at 550 milliseconds at launch was way too slow in my mind. Back then, this gun was basically only useful for that second class setup that I shared, where you basically just have to camp and lock down a lane, and I really don't like playing that way. Now that it got the buff to its aim down sight time, this is a much more effective LMG. It's still not my favorite LMG, but I do actually enjoy using it from time to time now. And with that, as always, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are your opinions on the Bren, especially after the patch? If you guys haven't tried the Bren out since this recent patch that we got last week at the time of recording this video, make sure you give it another shot, and you might just love it. If you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I've covered almost all of the guns now. I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.